Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness. Aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop.
Hey fans, it's karaoke and oldies night this and every Thursday at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton. Dance to the magical songs of yesteryear by popular DJs and Camps Audio. Admission is free. Come out, let's make memories at Club Twilight, Sideline Dam, Buxton North.
I decided that I'm going to start on time. It's 9 o'clock and it's 9:09. Well, we can round it off, right? Good night to all of you. If you're in the Queens area, it's Friday night, so I'm giving these businesses a plug. If you're in the Queens area, Brooklyn, and you want a good electrician, but in Guyana, they don't say electrician, they say electrician. If you're looking for a good electrician, contact the folks at Ezekiel Electrical or Electric Inc. Ezekiel. He's usually right on with us. Sherwin Green. So support the business, Sherwin Green. If you're in the Queens, Bronx, wherever you are in Brooklyn, give this company a call. Good night to all of you. Somebody's saying, what's the menu after the first quarter, Leighton? We're in a struggle right now in Guyana, and we just put basketball on hold for the time. We take the back bench on basketball right now, but we'll get back to that. All right, so support this business, support them. And if you're in Guyana, you have Sanita London, that's interior decorator and event planner. Connected. This business is connected to Apostle Nigel London. Okay, so support the business, support them. It's Friday. We're giving some plugs there. And of course, Andrew's Supermarket. So the only business I'm not giving a plug tonight is Benshop Consultancy. And here's a reason why I'm not giving Benshop Consultancy a plug. In the event you guys are looking to take care of any of your immigration work, feel free to give Benshop a call. But I'm not giving him a plug tonight, but I'm just mentioning it in the event that you need your citizenship, you have to file for whatever, your permanent, your green card, whatever it is, give that guy Ben Shop a buzz. You have his number. You know who he is. Good night to all of you. My name is Mark Benshap, and welcome to Straight Up. It's Friday evening. Friday evening, it's payday. Okay, it's Friday evening. What's on your mind? Lots of things percolating through my mind. I want to rock and roll right now. You notice I got the energy, even though I stopped drinking Red Bull. When I stop something, I really mean I stop something. And in Guyana, Tomasina, Ben, how are you doing? There's something about that name. But again, let me not get distracted. But let me say this to you guys. When I make my mind up on something, that's it. There's no going back. As they say in Guyana, you don't lick your own vomit. I don't do that. I don't do that. Tal. Not anymore. Peggy Elias, how are you doing? Bilal and the entire crew, how are you guys doing? Leeton, how are you doing, sir? Rajan Bim, kya hua bhai? Kya hua? Remember that old movie from the movie Hum Kisi Ke Kab Nahi? Kya hua? Tera wada? Wo kasam? Wo yada? Ole ka dil? Jisin to me, huh? It's simple. Kya hua means what? Whatever has gone wrong with our love. I'm not saying that to Rajin, but I'm saying that to our folks in Guyana, because we have such a horrible government. The PPP is the number one Nimakaram. And Jack Dale is a Nimakaram. Irfan Ali is a Nimakaram. And so when these Nimakarams and Katahar, some folks might be wondering, what is Nimakaram? No good. A Katahar, no good. No good. Absolutely no good. And so these Katahar, these Nimakaram, and sometimes we have to ask ourselves this question. Kya hua? Kya hua tera wada? Vokasam voyara. And his holeka dil jacinto me. Kya hua basically means whatever has happened to the love that we've had. And I recall on the quarantine, so much love we've had for each other, whether you're from Wim, Alnis, Bloomfield, Letterkenny, Philippi, Cromarty, Maida, Kilmarnock, Tarlagy, Evesham, Brighton, Epsom. Whatever happened to the love? We've got to go back to those days, guys. We really. I know it's modern times, but we've got to go back to that love and appreciation. I'm not saying that it has disappeared, but we've got to go back to those days, those beautiful days, where your neighbor bring a whole bowl of baigan choka for you, and you give your neighbor a whole bowl of cook up. Hard cook up, hard cook up, not soft cook up like my aunt Auntie Peg used to cook. And speaking of Auntie Peg, if her folks are her daughters and her son they're watching, those of you who know Peggy Bacon from Alnis Village, she's a little under the weather, not feeling too well. I don't like to use the word sick and these sort of things, so please keep Auntie Peg, known as Teacher Peggy, from Alnis Village under quarantine in your prayers, please. Keep her. Also, keep Miss Claudette Crawford, Teacher Claudette, also from Big Alnis and from Philippi. Keep her in your prayers as well. Thank you all. Keep those beautiful people. Keep them in your prayers. Auntie Peg, who's a relative of mine, and Teacher Claudette, who is also very close to the family. Teacher Claudette, many of you remember her. She taught at many schools under quarantine, and Auntie Peg taught at Alnis Primary and also Alnis Nursery, Mr. Ross Nursery School for many, many years. All right. What else is happening? What's happening in your neck of the woods? I'm without any tie tonight. It's Friday. So, Canaries, how are you doing? All right. So, where do we begin? Where do we begin, guys? Other than the that song, Kya Hua Tera Wada from the movie Hum Kisi Ke Kam Nahi. Take a look at that movie, Hum Kisi Ke Kam Nahi, right? And you'll get a good understanding as to what I'm talking about. It's not just a love story between a man and a woman, but it's a love story about our country, the deep love that we have for our country. It's just gone to the wayside. It's not completely gone. We can get it back, and we can get it back through our votes. The next time around, and we've got to ensure that our votes are properly counted, and that the PPP is not going to be thieving our votes again. They're pretty clear on that. They're good. They're good at thieving votes. They're good at thieving votes. They're good at thieving money, thieving all sorts of things. They're thieves. That is what they are. Good night to all of you. Collie Allen, also known as DJ Shrimpy. Check out his programs on the weekend. Nice musical programs. He deserves a national award for that. He has been entertaining us for a while, and I remember Shrimpy at the Bat Cripson, the Bat Disco in Linden. Remember him and his number one competitor, dancing competitor, Disco Monkey. Disco Monkey. That is what it is. Disco Monkey. Well, we have our car guy on the program, always criticizing, but you can't tell him nothing about Aubrey. You know, he gets vexed. He gets his bumps raised. He is messaging me to tell me that I am unprepared for my show. This is a guy who doesn't understand talk show. This is a guy who thinks that every single night we got to come and fight the battle for them. He's in Guyana. I'm not going to call his name because I do not, I repeat, I do not want Thomasina Ben or anyone to come after me. I am not going to call his name. But he goes on the neat cars, and God in heaven knows where else he. But messaging me to tell me I'm unprepared tonight. This is a talk show, and we're now warming up. This is not like press conferences when some people go unprepared at their press conferences, and it just done just like that without, you know. So you guys, if you can guess who this individual that just messaged me, he goes on the neat cars, he fix cars. I'm not going to call his name. I don't want. Let me see. Some of them are on. Some of his relatives are on. I'm not going to call his name. But good night to all of you, and welcome to Straight Up. We're going to rock and roll this evening for 1 hour. Oops. There goes Debbie Collins. Mouth open, story jump out. All right. So there are lots of things we want to talk about this evening. That the opposition, they're not really talking about it. They're not really fighting the fight that they should be. But then again, you know, when you talk about that, some of them bumps raise because they believe the opposition is doing such a wonderful job in confronting the corrupt, racist PPP regime. The corrupt, racist PPP regime. I'm not calling names. You guys calling the names. I'm not going to call the person who sent me a message here. This is confidential, it's private, and there's no need for me to call Ben's name. I'm not going to call anybody's name. All right, so here's what I want to talk about to begin with. This seemed to have gone in the wayside. Nothing is being done about it. This is a racist cartoon, but like everything else, it just gone. After 4 or 5 days, that's it. Nothing else. Nobody really cares. That's what it is. Again, that's exactly what it is. Nobody really cares, right? Absolutely no one. Just a few folks. And there we go with the GPL again. Remember, not so long ago, they said they're going to be a change of management, all manner of things at GPL. Nobody's asking the questions any longer. I don't know. David Patterson, the Honorable MP, was high up on the heels on this issue, but we haven't been hearing much about it recently, not from the corrupt PPP regime, neither from the opposition. I don't know why. I just don't know why, but it's just gone. And then we're not getting an update. I haven't gotten any recent update on what's going on with these these folks out in success, they've had their homes broken down, dislocated. I don't know what's going on with them, but it's something that we need to see the relevant member of parliament, the opposition, the relevant person, and in this case, the shadow minister of housing happens to be. Let me see if you guys know who that person is. We're just seeing a couple of letters, a couple of stuff in the newspaper, writing about different unrelated things to some of them writing unrelated to their portfolio. But I would love to see that these members of parliament, shadow ministers, and so forth, focus in their areas. When I say areas, not necessarily where they live, but in terms of what they have been placed there to shadow. And so we need to see these members of parliament, whether they are shadow ministers or not, we need to see them being far more aggressive on these issues, far more aggressive. It's coming around to elections time. Don't wait until 1 month before elections to be prepared. Don't wait until 2 weeks before elections to be prepared. They've just got to do it now. They've got to start. In fact, in politics, elections start the day the results are out. Whether someone gets in or whether someone is in the opposition, campaigning starts right away. The bell rings right away. That is just how it operates. You don't wait until a couple weeks before elections and then you start bawling out and start crying out and start rallying the troops, because sometimes it might be too late. Those of you who are accustomed grazing cows and goats and sheep and so forth, you know that you start rounding up as soon as you look at the sun and you see it's reached a particular point, you start rounding your animals up at the back dam. The minute it starts to get dark and you begin rounding up at that time, expect confusion. And so treat politics as though you're grazing animals. I'm not saying that the people are like cows and so forth and so on. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying how I recall when you're grazing animals on the quarantine or wherever. You don't wait until it gets dark to start looking for your cows or your goats, and you're calling them by names, Rohi, Meh, Sean, Moo, Jagdev. And then you call Jagdev and he comes running. And you call Irfan and he comes running. You call Gail Teixeira and she comes running. So do not, opposition folks, do not wait until the last minute. The PPP is in serious trouble. And we all know that. They are in serious trouble. Why do you think they're running all over the place? All over the place they're running. They're running to Linden. They're running on the quarantine. They've got Corriverton. They've got Enmore, Monrepo. All over they're running because they know they are in trouble, serious trouble. And they know this time around they are not going to be, and I want you to read my lips, they're not going to be allowed to rig the elections as they did in 2020. Because everyone knows that the PPP rigged the elections. That is how they're in office. The coalition won. Hands down, the coalition won the elections. But because they wanted a certain arrangement to get a regime in office that could lean towards Exxon and so forth and so on and so on. That is exactly what it's about. A regime change, as David Hines brought to our attention since way back in 2020, a regime change. And so this whole thing about charging people with electoral fraud and all manner of things, it was just a facade to make it look as though, like some guy selling milk on the quarantine. And when you think you're getting milk, you can get in milk is mud water. You get mud water. You get, Hazel Johnson is saying Melly Mel said that the opposition rigged elections. I'm not even sure Melly Mel understands this But it's the PPP who rigged the elections. It's the PPP who rigged the elections. That is exactly what has happened. The evidence is quite clear. And don't worry if people just jump out and, oh, but the opposition rigged the elections. The coalition rigged the elections. It's the PPP that rigged the elections. And let me just break this down for those who probably don't understand. Let me break this down here, please. If the opposition rigged the elections, and the PPP, they have been calling out for what is called the SOPs. Why do you suppose the PPP is so reluctant? They are afraid to open the stuff to let us see the SOPs. So for those who talking and just talking off the top of their head, the PPP said, whatever this is, it's in my office. The PPP said that the coalition rigged the elections. The PPP said that the SOPs will prove it. Okay, common sense, guys, common sense. If the PPP, as they claim, if they're saying that the coalition rigged the elections, just get the SOPs, get all of the boxes, open them. Let us see the coalition's SOPs. Open it. And now let's pause for a moment. Why do you, and we beg and we supposed to get sense. And don't run away with this nonsense about opposition rig elections and opposition rig. Forget about that crap. But let us break it down here. Simple common sense. You don't have to go to IFLAT University or to get that sort of common sense, right? Common sense, that's all it takes. And it's cheap. You can go Stabrook Market, you can go Border Market, and you have a lot of those people with a lot of common sense and intelligence right there. So it's not, you don't have to go to a university for that. And now, having said that, let me say that the coalition's SOPs are in the hands of the PPP. They have all of the evidence. And if the coalition rigged the elections, again, let me throw back, and I hope those who have been trying to sound nice and to say coalition rigged the elections and all those sort of things. And don't worry, don't be fooled, guys. Do not, y'all get y'all heads up. Put y'all head on. Do not be fooled with that dotishness. Let common sense be the order of the day, right? So now back to the SOPs. Why do you, and Tony Hack, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, I don't know, somebody said, Melly Mel said that the opposition rigged the election. So not because Melly Mel said the opposition rigged elections mean the elections were rigged by the opposition. All I'm saying is, where is the evidence? And I'm trying to point out to you guys where the evidence is. The evidence is not in the hands of Melly Mel because Melly Mel said rig it, rig. Good. If anybody, whether it's Melly Mel or whomever, if somebody says that the elections is rigged, then show us the evidence. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. Now, let's touch on the PPP now, because that is what's important here. The PPP has said that the coalition rigged the elections. That's the PPP's propaganda. That is their biggest PR stunt. So they cooked the elections results way before the elections. And so after, on if you notice, and let's go to this particular thing here, because I believe in breaking things down and not just talking just for talk's sake, because I just don't believe in that. Now look at this here. They knew what they were up to way before the elections were called. They knew that they had to come up with a plan because it was regime change. And the regime change had to have happened by any means necessary. So after the PPP cooked up the elections, while some of those guys in the coalition fell asleep at the wheel and all manner of things, they became very complacent. They thought that they had this thing all wrapped up. And so the PPP decided that they're going to storm the GCOM's headquarters. Storm it, go in and make nice. And that if they make nice and holler, thief, 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 people in Guyana and those outside of Guyana would get the impression that the coalition rigged the elections, when in fact it's the PPP that rigged the elections. But what happened with the coalition? I'll tell you guys what happened with those guys who fell asleep in the coalition. Some of them thought all manner of things, right? That they had this all, but not realizing what the PPP did to them. So when the results were coming in, it wasn't matching. The results were not matching. The results were not matching. And so the coalition guys realized that they got caught with their pants down. That's what happened. That is exactly what happened. And the time they took to correct whatever the errors were, the PPP started hollering foul, 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 foul cock, good. All kind of thing they holler, right? But the results were already cooked up. They cooked it, just like they attempted to cook it in 2015 when they were caught. And a particular senior foreign diplomat made a call to them and say, hey, surrender. And they surrendered. They had to chuck in. If you guys think I'm lying, ask David Hines could ask Donald Ramotar what really happened. They tried to rig in 2011. They attempted something similar to that in 2015 because they rigged the system in terms of the books, the data. And so the spreadsheet, sorry. And so when the results were coming in 2015, the results were coming in and they were going in favor of the PPP. But when the results, when votes started to count and boxes and so forth started to count in Region 4, things started to shift in favor of the coalition. But because the spreadsheet wasn't the way, the results showed something totally different from what the PPP had planned to rig the 2015 elections. And so they wanted, I'm told that senior members of the PPP, including Donald Ramotar, this is what I was told, it's Donald Ramotar has to say whether that's true or not. And so they wanted to stop the elections in 2015, stop the counting, because it wasn't going in their favor as they planned it, based on that spreadsheet. And they were told by a senior diplomat not to stop the counting. Let the counting continue. And so the counting continued, and the coalition won by 1 seat. If the PPP had stopped the counting, then they would have manipulated the spreadsheet, and the results would have been different. They tried that also in 2011, and they did something similar in 2006 when they robbed the AFC of a seat in Linden. That is what the PPP is notorious for doing. Now, why would anyone think that the PPP is such an angelic party that they sat there in 2020 and allowed the spreadsheets and all? They had their people, some of their people in GCOM. We saw the skullduggery with computers being removed by agents of the PPP. When confronted, they said all manner of things we saw. But putting all of that aside, Exxon and others were not comfortable with a return of David Granger's administration. Maybe now the story is different because they get to see the true side of the PPP, corrupt from the highest level, corruption at every level. And so these folks are now seeing the true nature, the true beast, so to speak. And trust me, there are lots and lots and lots and lots of regrets. Lots and lots of regrets. And so getting back to the SOPs, the PPP, they said they wanted all the SOPs counted, and then they attempted to force and embarrass the coalition. Oh, where is your SOPs? Show me your SOPs. So I have one question to ask you guys here tonight. When was the last time you heard Jagdeo asking for SOPs or Irfan Ali asking for SOPs or Anil Nandalal asking for SOPs? When was the last time? SOPs is no longer an issue for them because they already got what they wanted, which is the government, which is control of the country. And they got so through corrupt means. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. And if you were to tell me that some folks in the coalition were not part of that corruption with the PPP, well, something's got to be wrong with me and my thinking and my assessment. And that's just my assessment. I'm saying that they had some guys in the coalition that quite possibly assisted in the results and the manipulation of the 2020 general and regional elections. So for anyone to say that it was the coalition that rigged the elections, something is wrong there. And again, we go back to the PPP. If, and I have said this so many times prior to now, if the coalition had rigged the elections, then it would have been quite easy for the PPP to bring all of the coalition's SOPs and open it up and let us see who really rigged the elections. The evidence is right there in the hands of the PPP. But here is common sense now. The fact that the PPP is reluctant to open the coalition's SOPs and show it to the world, let all of us, let's not just go with speculations off the top of our head and say who rigged the elections. But we can assume, though, based on how the PPP is operating, that it is the PPP who rigged the elections, not the coalition. Because if the coalition rigged the elections, don't you think the PPP would have loved to open all of the SOPs and so forth? But let us also break it down. It is the chief elections officer, then, Mr. Keith Lowenfield, after he tabulated all of the legal votes, put aside spoiled votes and all manner of things that the PPP did, it turned out that the coalition won the elections with valid votes. But the PPP is in office, not as a result of all of the valid votes counted. The PPP is in office as a result of valid votes plus invalid votes. Everything they just throw in a pot and say, that's it. But when Lowenfield submitted the elections results, minus after the counting, the recount, minus the invalid votes, GCOM and some foreigners and Mike Pompeo, oh, no, stop this, stop it, and declare the results. So you declare the results with a bunch of invalid votes, and then you say that you won an elections? When according to the recount, mind, this is what we're talking, according to the recount, if we go by that, with valid votes, the coalition won the goddamn election. Story done. Common sense, guys. And now, you guys recall the CARICOM observers that went back and so forth, one of them from St. Vincent, who was caught up in skullduggery there because Ralph Gonzalez did almost the same thing, corruption with the elections in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Now let's go back to when the CARICOM observers left. The CARICOM observers didn't leave Guyana at the recount when all of the votes were counted and the process completed. They left when it was 5 or 6%. So how could they do that and then go back and give a statement out of 5% or 6%, something along that. It wasn't more than 10% of the votes counted at the recount center. But yet they went back and they are of the impression that the PPP won. How could the PPP have won when you only sat there for a couple of days? I'll make this thing make sense. So now, after Lowenfield, the then chief elections officer, 18%. Thank you. Savage, real savage, man. You're on target. You got to change your name. 18%. Good. Thank you. Somewhere thereabout. I stand corrected on that issue. So after Lowenfield submitted once, Claudette Singh didn't like it. She sent it back. Lowenfield sent back it. We're talking about valid votes. And elections results can be declared after all of the votes have been counted, and you put aside the invalid votes. How the heck can you count invalid votes and make that part of your declaration? And that's what happened in the 2020 elections. But guys like Keith Lowenfield, they were fighting to save democracy, fighting for the country. But of course, the allegations about rigged and so forth, there's no evidence. And the sad part is Claudette Singh, who is quiet as a mouse, knows exactly what transpired. Remember, I have been in touch, and Claudette has been in touch with me almost every single day during the elections and after the elections. Every single day. And I know exactly what was going through her mind. She was fed up with the PPP. She even claimed that somebody who is on the U.S. wanted list wanted to murder her. And then when the PPP claimed that, she was locked away in a room, an office at GCOM, and they were going there to protect her, don't buy that. They weren't going there to protect her. Claudette Singh wasn't afraid of the coalition people. She was afraid of the PPP guys. So with the 2020 general and regional elections, guys, there are lots of things that happen that if the public gets to know, y'all jaw will drop. And it has mostly to do with the PPP regime. Y'all jaw will drop. It will drop because the 2020 elections was and remains a big can of worms that includes not local folks, not regional folks alone, but international folks. And those international folks are today regretting every moment that they caused the elections to go in a particular direction. And that is what. So whilst the people, the ordinary folks and so forth crying out, oh God, some saying, oh, opposition rigged the election. They don't know. Whoever's saying the opposition, they don't understand. They don't know. Somebody might whisper, hey, you know this? Hey, you know. No, but read between the lines. I'm just talking what I want to talk. But there's so much that I can talk. I can tell you guys. Some of them in the opposition weren't, in the coalition government, they weren't easy to, you know. Some of them were complicit. Some of them were in bed with the PPP. But then again, it's Friday night, man. It's not. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk much. I don't want to talk much because the coalition got a raw deal, a big raw deal. It was time for them to go, and if some of them didn't hand over the country, maybe some of them would have been 6 feet under today. It's sad. It's a big, big, big can of worms, guys. A big can of worms. But after Claudette Singh refused to accept the elections results with valid votes, judges were threatened. Judges in the High Court were threatened. Judges in the Appellate Court were threatened. That's a fact, guys. Judges were afraid to make decisions because of the external threats they received. Mike Pompeo threats, others within the State Department or the Trump administration making threats upon threats upon threats. And so those judges operated under duress. Almost all of those judges, except one, was in favor of the PPP. The majority of the judges knew that they had to rule on the side of law. And because of the threats, they became afraid and they buckled in. So for some people who don't really understand what transpired behind the scene, I'm not sitting here to tell you guys that I know everything, but you might be surprised that there's a lot that I know. And what I do know is that the PPP rigged the elections with the help of their friends who are non-Guyanese. That is what happened. And so these same folks now who didn't care that there were thousands of invalid votes counted and mixed up to give the PPP the edge, they weren't concerned about that. They just wanted to get it over with and put the PPP in office. But on the American side of the elections, they were talking a different tune. They were singing a different tune. The guy who didn't care about valid votes and invalid votes in Guyana, this is what he said about the last presidential elections in the United States of America. This is what he said.
Mr. Secretary.
Hi.
Is the State Department currently preparing to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. Right? We're ready. The world is watching what's taking place here. We're going to count all the votes. When the process is complete, there'll be electors selected. There's a process. The Constitution lays it out pretty clearly. The world should have every confidence that the transition necessary to make sure that the State Department is functional today, successful today, and successful with the president who's in office on January 20th, a minute afternoon, will also be successful. I went through a transition on the front, and I've been on the other side of this. I'm very confident that we will do all the things that are necessary to make sure that the government, the United States government, will continue to perform its national security function as we go forward.
So you believe there's widespread voter fraud, that the reports that we're getting from Pennsylvania, from Michigan, showing vote totals in massive leads or significant leads with not.
And so you heard Mike Pompeo there, then the Secretary of State, saying that when all of the valid votes, all of the votes are counted, but that wasn't what they were concerned about Guyana, because they knew after all of the valid votes counted, put aside the illegal votes, they knew that that was it, that the coalition won the elections. The coalition won the elections. That's it. They know that. Some of them behind the scenes now regret. They regret every moment, because how can you have an election and the results with 61 dead voters? You guys know what happened in the 1997 elections, right? And why it was vitiated by Claudette Singh when she was a high court judge. That's why after her ruling in 2000, late 2000, that is why Parliament had to be dissolved and fresh elections called. But it was four plus years after. And in March of 2001, we had elections in Guyana. It was as a result of the 1997 elections petition. And it was one particular issue. But the same Claudette Singh dealt with all these issues at GCOM. But yet she ruled, as a matter of fact, I'll say this, that she was forced to make a decision. She was forced to make a decision in favor of the PPP. I repeat, she was forced to make a decision. And, you know, I have said this before. And you guys, some of you who understand what transpired, know that it was a regime change. A take out, go, or else. A take out, go, or else. And some of them in the coalition were complicit in that as well, with the PPP jiggery pokery. And let me just say this, that Claudette Singh was more concerned about her visa being taken away. She was more concerned about that. And again, I don't want to talk much about certain things because remember, I just don't want to talk much about certain things at all. Um, and so some folks talk about, um, Granger refused to be sworn in. That again is some mischievous folks who were complicit. Mischievous folks who I don't think that ever happened. Claudette Singh never asked Granger to be sworn in. Claudette Singh cannot swear Granger in. What Claudette Singh didn't do was she didn't accept the elections results by the chief elections officer according to the law. The chief elections officer. On several occasions, the chief elections officer submitted his final report. She refused to accept it. And she sent it back instructing, you see the illegality there. She instructed the chief elections officer how to do his job. And she instructed him to count all of the votes, including invalid votes, and then make his submission. All the man was doing was counting the valid votes. So y'all understand what transpired. Look at this. 4,864 absent voters. 150 stuffed ballot boxes. 47 ballot boxes without documents. 47. 1,278 missing oaths of identity. And you're telling me that the opposition rigged the elections without any evidence that transpired? Majority of the evidence that exists would prove that the PPP rigged the elections, just as they're already preparing. And I wish some of them in the coalition would come out and say that they were false ballot papers. Thousands of false ballot papers found belonging to the PPP. I wish these guys could talk up. These guys in the coalition need to talk up instead of every day some fight on each other, fight on this, fight on that. One guy the other day, after the PPP and their propaganda said that they're giving out about 100 house lots, 100 plus house lots to people in Linden. They thought that that's a success story. But the same PPP that spent 23 plus years in office didn't give a rat's about the people of Linden. But when the coalition got in there, the coalition had to deal with approximately 30,000 applications for house lots pending. 30,000. This is a regime that never give a damn about the people. They never did. I know what I'm saying here tonight is going to raise the bumps of some of the trench crappos within. And the trench crappos will come out, come out. And so let me say this. What the coalition did for Guyana, and I repeat, what the coalition did for Guyana for just under 5 years, maybe 4 years or 3 years, the PPP failed to do that in 23 years. They failed to do that in 23 years. And so some would say hundreds of people got house lots in Linden. Hundreds of people. Hundreds. Thousands of people got house lots throughout the country. And the process was faster. But some people didn't get paid. They have the patience. Everything must be done in 5 years. But for 23 years, the PPP couldn't do it. And after the first 2 years or so, David Granger, as president of the country, apparently was undergoing serious chemotherapy. But anyways, I wouldn't venture out much on that because we were never told that as a nation, that while the country was going helter-skelter, the president was undergoing chemotherapy, serious chemotherapy. But the coalition, for those who are of the view that the coalition didn't do this, and the coalition did far more in 3 years than what the PPP couldn't do in 23 years. And some of those folks who are criticizing the coalition shouldn't criticize the coalition because nothing didn't done for them personally. And so a lot of those folks, when they criticize the coalition, they would say nothing was personally done for them, or they lost a job. They no longer have a job. And so what I do is look at this from a holistic standpoint, that what did the coalition do for Guyana? The coalition saved a lot of young men from being slaughtered by PPP and the PPP goons. The coalition restored respect from the international standpoint. The coalition ensured that the water was running properly from upstairs to downstairs. That's what the coalition did. Lots of things the coalition did, but the coalition didn't have much of a good PR system to talk about these things that they were doing. And so individuals, when you ask them why you hate the coalition ain't do nothing for me. That's what it's about. They ain't do nothing for me. And I oftentimes say to people, if I were to get upset with the coalition, I would jump and say the coalition do, because the coalition was fair across the board. They ran into PPP dominated areas. They didn't say this is a PPP area, this is a PNC area. They were all over the place doing their work, fixing roads, fixing proper schools, restoring the country. They didn't have a money laundering bill and all these things. And thank you, Ian Williams. Guess what? They did it without oil money. And oh yeah, the coalition had one and two of them lazy ministers and things like that, right? We know that. Every government would have, but this PPP regime, like all of them are a bunch of crooks. All the ministers are a bunch of crooks. So the individuals, when they jump up and they say coalition and do nothing for, they're looking at them. Some of them lost a job and they don't have a job, so they're upset. And so they give the impression as though the coalition was bad. The coalition was the best thing for Guyana over the past 25 years. They weren't perfect. They made some mistakes. But they didn't deserve to be overthrown, because that's what happened with them. They got overthrown, they got threatened. And if you don't give it up, well, that's it. Some of them probably would have been 6 feet under and so forth. So understand the politics, guys, and don't be brainwashed by some folks to make you believe that, like I said, I'm restrained from saying what I really want to say. But maybe one day when I get around writing another book, well, I'm not finished with the first one, you will know exactly what really transpired with the elections. Some of you already know, but there's much more. There's much more that can be said. And I know Claudette Singh knows a lot. She does know a lot. And then, anyways, there's some other issues that I wanted to talk about, if we can get to that. But I just wanted to make sure that I let you guys know that there's no evidence that the PPP rigged the elections. We know that, but there's no evidence that the coalition, while in office, rigged the elections. It just so happened that they got caught with their pants down, right? They got caught with their pants down because it was the PPP who rigged the elections. That is why they're in office. And the PPP has a history of rigging elections. And we know that because the court has ruled. And we saw that they stole a seat from the AFC, from Region 10, and they attempted to steal another seat in 2011. And in 2015, because of their spreadsheet, their inflated spreadsheet, they tried to stop the 2015 elections, but they were told not to. And so the coalition got a 1-seat majority. And now let's show a video here about the healthcare system in Guyana. Take a look. video is compliments of Melly Mel's page. But I want to show you guys this video again. You guys, this is not propaganda, you know, guys. You guys saw that. Best hospital is certainly not the best hospital in Guyana. You guys are, this is an oil-rich country, billions upon billions of dollars. And then they have all these private hospitals and all things connected to friends and family members of Irfan Ali and Jack Deo. So when you see all these private hospitals going on, it is a money-making something. It's not that they want to improve the healthcare system in Guyana. It's not about that. It's about milking money from people. Milking money. If you got to go check your blood pressure, the private hospital, they inflate everything. Everything inflated. You want to go cut a goatee, it's inflated. Every single thing. That is why, did I say that word just now? My apologies to my religious people. I should not have been saying it at all. But if Irfan Ali can dance to it, why can't I say it?
How we gonna do a body man walk right now? You ready? Boxer, let me go now. Hear me sing now. Body walk, body walk, body walk, everything. Body walk, truck, body walk, body walk, body walk, everything. Body, listen, body jump, body jump.
You know, so even if you go to a private hospital to cut that, it's a heck of a lot of money. But the public hospitals have nothing much to offer the people. Sometimes you go there and people have to wait for hours upon hours. Do you recall under the PPP regime, they were in the maternity ward? I was there, not for me, but I was there. Come on, guys. Mark was there. One night, because a nurse called me and she says, you know, Mark, you've got to come over at the Georgetown Public Hospital now. And I rushed over there with my camera and I video. But of course, the mothers and so forth, they were covered up. There were 2 and 3 persons on a hospital bed. 2 and 3 persons on a hospital bed. But when the coalition got into office, all of those things disappeared for the most part. The coalition government took care of every sector. For the most part, they did all of that and more. But some of you don't want to give them credit. Y'all vex about one particular thing, but not knowing the whole story behind what really happened. Now, let's show you guys back. This is Best Hospital. Not the best hospital, but the name of the hospital. Take a look at this. A patient there on the bed. And rats crawling or walking on these people. The rats, take a look. That is the health sector, guys. They have nothing much to offer people, even dialysis and all these manner of things. It's just a shame. Look, lots of people, I noticed Tony Hack said, lots of people are being misdiagnosed in Guyana, especially our women and men also, prostate cancer. People are being misdiagnosed. Every single day you hear some sad stories about what's happening. Every single day. It brings tears to your eyes. You know how many babies died under questionable circumstances? I recall a few years back a 6-month-old boy or a year-old or whatever he was at that time. Wrong injection that crippled The mother came to my office on several occasions with tears in her eyes, and the little boy crippled. But have you heard any doctor being sued for malpractice and all? Nothing. But recently we heard two doctors. One of them got kicked out of the medical council. He can't practice in Guyana, but they're not telling you guys why he can't practice, but they kicked him out. What exactly did he do wrong? Did he cause the deaths of citizens? And then another one is suspended for 6 months, but they're not coming out to tell you guys what they did wrong. All of these things, it's so sickening in that country. And it's supposed to be an oil-rich country. They say it's the little Dubai, all things, but every day headaches, flood here, flood there, blackouts, all manner of things. Corruption. And corruption is the only going thing in the country right now. Corruption. You know, I recall a few years back, my sister died. She was misdiagnosed. There was a little bump on her breast, one side, and she was just told that it's nothing important. Nothing, just a little bump, that's it. But by the time she went for a second opinion, it was almost the fourth stage of cancer. Fourth stage of cancer. And died young. Left two beautiful kids behind. Misdiagnosed. It happens almost every day in Guyana. Some very, very sad stories, guys. Very, very sad stories. So I'll show you guys this video again. Oil-rich country, billions upon billions of dollars. Irfan wouldn't allow any family member go there or his close friends. He wouldn't. Jack there wouldn't allow. He wouldn't even allow Kwame to go there. He wouldn't. But they want citizens, the ordinary citizens, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their religion. They're ordinary folks. The corrupt PVP regime doesn't care about them. And so that is why they have to suffer the way that guy is right now. And others at that hospital. And there are other things happening at other hospitals. Hardly have doctors. You're hearing at New Amsterdam and Port Morant Hospital and so forth. You're hearing that there are doctors there who do not speak English, who cannot communicate with the nurses properly. All of these things are happening in Guyana. Oil-rich Guyana. But yet, Irfan Ali could pop in to Brooklyn, pretend as though he's going to visit Kings County Hospital to say thank you to the nurses and all manner of things. It was staged. It was basically a propaganda. It was a PR stunt and so forth and so on. That is exactly what it was about. Kings County Hospital. So this Nimakaram, this Katahar, this Korhi, Irfan Ali, took time to jump on a plane 5,000 plus miles away and go at a hospital, Kings County Hospital. The enablers in Brooklyn took him there. Walk around, take him picture, pretending that he's so concerned about healthcare sector. And look, he just took picture. Picture nasa picture. Yeah, look, some of the enablers, they're there with him, walking around. Kings County Hospital. But the same Irfan Ali, do you think he's going to visit the hospitals in Guyana? He's not going to. He's just not going to visit Guyana, the hospitals there, because he doesn't care. An oil-rich country, billions and billions of dollars. But he goes to Brooklyn with the enablers, and this is what they say to him.
Take responsibility. We want you to look out for us. We do not want no segregation. No. We are one people. And if we're going to do it, let's do it together. Because we have respect for you. Thank you.
All right, President.
You heard that, right? The John F. Kennedy quote, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. But after you look at that video with the rats crawling on the patient's bed and crawling on other patient's bed at that hospital, you've got to twist the things around what John F. Kennedy said and what he meant. In Guyana now, ask not the rats what they can do for you, but what you can do for the rats. Because this is what's happening. Sad situation in Guyana. Very, very sad situation. The PPP has to go. I repeat, the PPP has to go. But before I go this evening, I saw this article. This guy is a businessman in Essequibo. He's 40 years old, businessman by the name of Khan. And he's investing $500 million. Okay, let's move on to some other stuff here. This is the vendors now. They storm City Hall, City Council offices. They want their concerns to be addressed. Mr. Mayor, what's his name again? Let me see if you guys know the name of the mayor of Georgetown. What's the mayor's name of Georgetown? The people, the vendors want their issues to be addressed. The vendors want their issues to be addressed, guys. And Mayor Mentor, Alfred Mentor, has to be more proactive. The councillors have to be more proactive. Forget about the PPP pacus, them were councillors. Alfred Mentor has to be more proactive. The councillors have to work. Now, let me ask y'all this question. And I'll be honest with you guys. I've never seen or heard anything from the deputy mayor of Georgetown. Never. Never seen or heard anything from the deputy mayor of Georgetown. Never. I don't know what's happening. Maybe I missed it. I'm not saying that she may not have had press conferences or whatever. But I remember the days of Hamilton Green and the deputy mayor was Robert Williams. Robert Williams was very active. Very active. Very active. But these days, it looks as though, for the most part, any and anybody can become mayor and deputy mayor. I guess it is what it is, right? All right. Okay. Tomorrow, guys, Wayne Caesar is on, 7 o'clock. Over to you. Wayne Caesar took a week off from appearing maybe once or twice on Straight Up, but tomorrow he will have sufficient information on his on his program. DJ Strimpy is asking for us to go out and have a beer. He has some family and friends in from New Amsterdam want to meet with me. Strimpy, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. But let me see here. What else? What else before I go? Oh, wow. 1,712 students graduated with diplomas, bachelor's degrees, and master's degrees from several universities under the Guyana Online Academy of Learning. Go! Irfan Ali. And still to this day, we don't know what university he attended at IFLAT. But congratulations to all of the students. This is not about the students, but congratulations to all of them, every single one of them. But now that we have in Guyana 1,712 students now finish university, where they gonna walk? The question is, where they gonna walk? What they gonna do? Where they gonna walk? What they gonna do? That's the question. That's the main question. Tomorrow, the protest, the boycott of this flag-raising ceremony in Linden. The flag-raising ceremony in Linden. Lindeners, it is your opportunity. It is your time to boycott, chase them out. Boycott this event. Boycott all of the events. All of the flag-raising events for the PPP. I noticed some enablers were busy as usual in downtown Manhattan, Bowling Green. They were busy, the usual suspects, the enablers. But in Guyana, the Guyanese will show them, and the enablers in New York, whether they're in Brooklyn or wherever, how to boycott, how to protest. Lindeners, all eyes are on you guys. All eyes. But look at this now, according to Gordon Mosley. The son of Jesse Jackson, civil rights leader, is going to Guyana, and he's going to be, this is according to this report here, mind you, he is going to be in Linden. Now, Lindeners, what an utter disrespect to you guys. And people from Chicago, several persons from Chicago called me. One particular lady, if she's watching, good night to you, an activist from Chicago, is livid, is upset that Jonathan Jackson would accept an invitation from Irfan Ali and the PPP regime, and people are beginning to question whether there was a transaction other than just an invitation. People are upset. And this is not going to be the end of a mention of Jonathan Jackson and why he accepted that invitation to visit Guyana and to cuddle up with a corrupt, racist PPP regime. I'm not sure if Jonathan Jackson is already in Guyana, but people are upset. Lindeners, go out in your numbers tomorrow and let Jonathan Jackson know exactly how you guys feel. Let him know, let Jonathan Jackson know exactly how you guys feel. Go out in the thousands. Let him, he's got to know. And I say this to Jonathan Jackson. Shame on you. Shame on you, Jonathan. You should know better. What a shame and a disgrace. Speaking of shame and disgrace, insufficient credible evidence to charge Dharamlal. That is the police legal advisor. This is not the job of the police legal advisor. And notice what they're doing. They want to avoid sending the file to the DPP. This is the trick. They want to avoid sending the file to the DPP. And so the legal advisor, Moore, probably doesn't understand, or maybe he's forced to do this, But guess what? As expected, they are going to say insufficient, not insufficient evidence, insufficient credible evidence to charge Dharamlal. Oh. Y'all expect anything better? But this should be coming from the DPP and not the legal advisor. The legal advisor of the police job is not to determine whether someone should be charged or not. That is not his function. His function is to advise the police on legal matters, but not to advise, and I don't want to make it appear of any contradiction here, but it's the DPP's chambers that decide. They're the ones who advise the police on whether to charge or not to charge. That is not the role of the police legal advisor. And so you guys already see what is happening. But back to Linden. Lindeners, tomorrow, all eyes are on you guys. All eyes are on you guys. All eyes. We're counting on you, Lindeners. We're counting on you. Remember some Lindeners when David Granger was opposition leader, they protest and they ting up and they shut, they protest up when the opposition leader was there in Linden. Let's see what's going to happen now. Let's see what's going to happen now. Are they going to do what Jack Dave suggested to be done to coalition members of parliament and ministers and so forth? This is what Jack Dave said.
Right across Ghana, when the ministers of Granger or Nagamutu come here after the 21st of March, you say to them, walk behind them, chase them out, they're going to be illegal. Say to them, you're illegal. Free up the country, you're undemocratic. They're going to face a different situation right across the country.
When they come to the communities, whether it is in Berbice or Essecubo and Linden or in South Georgetown or Agricola or in Ennore or Port Morant, the people of Guyana should treat them as illegal.
The people of Linden should treat the PPP tomorrow as illegal. You observe where he was trying to basically whistle at his supporters there, Port Morant and more, so forth and so on. Well, the people of Linden should treat the PPP as they are, illegal, an illegal regime. Chase them out, tell them they're not wanted. And let that Congressman Jonathan Jackson know as well. Let him see the protest. Let him see you guys tomorrow and the hurt that you guys are feeling and the pains that the PPP inflicted on you. Let Jonathan Jackson, the congressman, let him see that. People are disappointed, and I am disappointed in Jonathan Jackson, the congressman. And take the the congressman too, take him to this hospital. I'm out of here, guys. It's Friday. Wayne Caesar is going to be on tomorrow, 7 o'clock, and over to you. And we will be monitoring as well the people out in Linden tomorrow as they prepare to chase the PPP out of Linden. And let Jonathan Jackson, this congressman from the U.S. from Chicago there, let him know that things not regular. Things not regular. All right. The boycott continues in Brooklyn. It goes off to New Jersey and it goes to Atlanta. It's in Guyana. It's all over. The boycott is in full effect. Remember, support those who support you guys. And do not go to the businesses that support the PPP. I'm not saying that people don't have a right to their political views, but I'm talking specifically about the enablers. You know who the enablers are in Brooklyn. Do not support your business. Boycott them. Story done. I'm out of here. Be back hopefully tomorrow. I'm not sure, but maybe if Wayne Caesar invites me, I'll probably decline his invitation. Let him do his show all by himself tomorrow and his guest. Wayne Caesar is on at 7 o'clock tomorrow night with Over to You. Chipper 68. How are you? All right. Good night to every one of you. I can't call all of your names. I'll just call a few so that some of you guys can get upset. Hi, Melissa. How are you? Hi, Lynette. How are you? Hi, Beverly. How are you? Hi, Asha. How are you? Forget about Rastaman. Hi, Vashti. How are you? Forget about Wayne Caesar. Forget about Christopher Chichester. Forget about Bantu King. Hi, Jacqueline. How are you? Forget about Craig. Forget about Craig. Yeah. Hi, Ingrid. All right, guys. Have a good night and enjoy your weekend. Wayne Caesar, 7 o'clock tomorrow. God bless you, but continue to pray for a beautiful country. Lots of prayers. Bye-bye.
Yeah, my name is Jasmine Caldata, Francis Vietnam, and since 1965, I become a voter. And I always place my ex next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
So if I got children, I must suffer them to take what I don't want to eat for myself. That is totally wrong.
What?
And the parents got to stand up.
Rhonda, I really thank you for taking time out. I'm not going to let you go now. I know you're a very brave person. You're out there in front of GCOM. We're not seeing a lot of people out there, but give us an update on the protest every week in front of GCOM.
Tuesday we had 8 persons. Essentially.
One second, Rhonda. I kind of like, honestly, I like that laugh. I'm going to rephrase, I'm going to ask the question again. And
man, don't make me laugh, man. I tell you.
Rhonda, one second. One second, Rhonda. I'll ask you the question again. Rhonda, can you give us an update on the protest in front of GCOM?
Man, he has 8 persons at the protest.
Oh, Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.
How we gonna do a body man walk right now? You ready? Boxer, let me go now. Hear me sing now. Body walk, body walk, body walk, everything. Body walk, truck, body walk, body walk, body walk, everything. Body, listen. Body jump, body jump, body jump, everything. Body jump, body jump, body jump, body jump, everything. Hear me sing, so big body can't wear it tight pants, big body jump.